want this. You want to have plain background like this, or you want to have any background of your organization?
I don't have anything now.
Okay, fine. Then there is no problem. So, are you in a position to present right now for your presentation, whatever you are going to speak?
Yes.
So, very good. Jagdish, before that, I will like to set the tone.
Okay.
Our students will be introducing you online directly.
Okay.
Auditorium.
Okay.
So, I will put your slide one pager introduction, and then this recording will be shown as live.
Okay.
So there will be live Zoom recording like this way, so that students and participants will feel that you are already doing it online. Okay. So just before you speak, I just like to utter few things that you can address while your presentation or recording, because we will be recording in 2 phases.
Okay.
One, now I am speaking. The second one, purely your recording, so that then we can interconnect both the recordings to show them online.
Okay.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Abhay Kulkarni, the convener of this international conference, welcoming Mr. Jagdish Barik to give his inaugural address. Our international conference is on revisiting business processes for profitable, sustainable, and inclusive growth. I'm glad that organizations post-pandemics are revisiting, rethinking, relooking their business processes. Various organizations provide different products and services which needs to be profitable, sustainable over a period of time, and of course, sustainable in terms of integrating principles like saving energy, green products, and having inclusive growth. We also expect that the participants should speak on decent employee generation, consistent with trade, financial, industrial, rural development, and social policies. When I'm talking about inclusive growth, inclusion talks about beneficial to all stakeholders of the organization, and it implies direct links between macro and microeconomics determinants of the economy and economic growth. I'm talking about the inaugural session. I'm very glad that Mr. Jagdish Barik, being Master Black Belt in Six Sigma, which is a world-class qualification to talk on business process excellence. We are expecting the participants to get the helicopter view in revisiting engineering business processes for profitable and sustainable and inclusive growth, which is reaped by the industry. When I'm talking about the revisiting business processes, this particular conference is talking about a theme, Rescue 2022. When I say Rescue 22, yes, it is revisiting for resilience, rethinking, relooking the business operations, to explore new dimensions of business, to sustain business, and question existing business processes, to uplift the present metrics of the business organizations for which people are looking for growth and excellence. Yes, we need to see that how they evolve their internal and external customers, and of course, the stakeholders involved in the process. So endurance and resilience are the two sides of the coin which we expect people to understand. And therefore, I'm welcoming Mr. Jagdish Barik to his inaugural session to deliver helicopter view in revisiting engineering business processes for profitable, sustainable, and inclusive growth for all the participants to understand. Over to Mr. Jagdish Barik. Yes, sir. You can start your presentation now.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. which part of the world you are.
Yes.
So welcome to the session. I would like to thank Dr. Abhay and IICMR and for organizing this event, International Conference of Rescue 2022. So it is a good opportunity for me to introduce you all with Aditya Birla Group sustainability processes, how the business transformation processes has helped us to excel our business performance through sustainable process excellence. So I'll share my slides and then I'll take all of you through that. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a brief on me. I am Jagdish Barik, Chief Sustainability Officer and Joint President of Aditya Birla Group Textile Business. I am based at Thailand, and I'm taking care of the 12 units of textile business of Aditya Birla Group, 3 in Indonesia, 2 in Thailand, 4 units in India, and 2 in Germany and 1 in Philippines. So I'm taking care of business excellence as well as sustainability initiatives of across all the units of textile business of Aditya Birla Group. I'll just give a perspective why sustainability is in the top radar of the business. If you talk about the CEOs and business directors, so sustainability is in the top agenda of all the top management team. Why it is like that? It has come out before the COVID period, but the significance has increased tremendously after COVID, and sustainability has become the key business agenda for survival and success in the business. And this is also one of the criteria to transform and change the business model, business processes. So there is the topic which is decided in Rescue 2020 is perfectly aligning with the business scenario. So let's understand why sustainability is among the top agenda of any business nowadays. If you see the growth of human population, so this graph is talking about that. So first 1 billion of the population in Earth, it has come in 1800 years. And after that, you can see in the graph, the 2nd billion has come in 123 years. Then 3rd billion is 33 years. Like that, the population growth has happened exponentially. And whatever population growth has happened, it has happened in around last 500 years. So if we see the world population growth, every week, a city like Udaipur, around 6 lakh of population is getting added every week, if you see the world population. So this is one of the factors which has significantly contributed to the sustainability of the business, sustainability of the environment, sustainability of the earth and nature. This slide talks about how India is the epicenter of the sustainability. If you see in this, the whole world, the circle, the white circle, which is mentioned, the more people are living inside this circle, than outside. So India, China, and this part of the world is the epicenter of the sustainability. So the impact is going to be tremendous in near future. So we have to, sorry, my throat is not well. So we have to take various actions and measures to bring to the normal. And India, China, and this part of the Asia is having a tremendous significance from sustainability point of view. Similarly, for our business survival and success. This is another graph talking about the climate change adaptation. So the countries which are in high risk in coming maybe 10 to 20 years, we are going to see a lot of havoc, lot of sustainability related catastrophes like your extreme weather conditions, sea level rise, and earthquake, your all this rainfall deviation, and agricultural productivity loss, and cyclone. So these are going to happen very frequently in this part of the world, and China and India is going to be impacted tremendously in coming 10 to 20 years. So this is an area of concern for all of us, as business is nothing but a subset of the society. And if the society or our environment is going to be impacted, business is going to be impacted. So it's a matter of concern for all the top management to take proper actions and proper risk mitigation plan for the survival of the business. Now I'm talking about few global issues, how the Earth system has moved out of the control. If you see various aspect of the environmental aspect, like your biodiversity loss, your nitrogen cycle, your ozone depletion, your ocean acidification, climate change, chemical pollution, atmospheric aerosol loading. So these are some of these global environmental issues. And if you see biodiversity loss, it has already exceeded the limit, and nitrogen cycle also has already exceeded the limit. If you take example of biodiversity loss, we have the man-induced species. Many habitats, they have lost now 100 times the natural rate. Natural rate of loss is low, but because of the man intervention, human intervention, the loss of species has increased tremendously. It is around 100 times the natural rate of loss. So you can imagine the situation, how it is happening, like the loss of tiger, elephant, and there are many habitats, they are getting extinct. And we are not able to measure the impact of that now, but the complete ecosystem is getting impacted. And this is going to have a tremendous impact on your natural calamities, your fertilization of the plant, and your ecosystem, which we are not able to realize now, but in the coming period, in future, we are going to realize that. So God has created this world in a very synchronous manner, and human being, animal, and trees, plants, flora, fauna, and everybody has to live in a congenial ecosystem so that everybody will complement each other and live happily. But this is very soon getting disturbed by only single most animal, the human being, and for his selfish desires. So this is going to impact tremendously in coming time. So it's already exceeded the limit. So biodiversity loss is one of the loss which we have to take care of, all businesses has to take care of it. Similarly, the nitrogen cycle, because of the agriculture and fertilization we are putting for the growth of the agriculture, now we are seeing a lot of vegetables, lot of fruits, we are making hybrid, and we are using a lot of fertilizers which is growing the vegetables and fruits, but they have a negative impact on the land. And that land, also the water is getting contaminated, and the water going to river or sea, it is going to impact the whole life cycle of human being, animals, and again, so everybody. So that is how the nitrogen cycle has disrupted, and it has gone beyond the limit. Now, if you see the climate change is the buzzword nowadays. If you ask anybody on the climate change, you can realize that the frequency of cyclone, drought, and ocean water level rise, all these incidents are going up gradually. So this is a matter of concern for all of us to take care of climate change, because in the Paris Agreement, there was a consensus among all the countries to contain the temperature, global warming temperature within 1.5 degree. But at current level, what we are working in all our businesses, if it run as usual condition, the temperature rise may go up to 4 degrees centigrade. So it is going to create havoc in coming years. So that's also a matter of concern. Similarly, each and every global issues like ocean acidification, then chemical pollution, and all of these is a matter of concern for all of us to take immediate action and act now. There is not much time with us to think and take action. So all the businesses are on the war footing to take immediate actions. If you see another, the graph which is mentioned at the top is the water cycle. If you see the water risk, which is coming in coming 10 to 15 years, India, most of the region are in, you can see the red or dark red region. It's a very high risk units. If you see Gujarat, many portions of the Maharashtra, complete Tamil Nadu, and then Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, complete north is in high risk zone. If we take our example, our units, we had done a water risk assessment through aqueduct. All our units were at a very low risk level 5 years back. But last year, when we did our water risk assessment, almost 80% of our unit, out of 12 units, 10 units are in high risk. So the situation are changing very fast. In coming 10 to 15 years, India will be at a high risk on water. So we have to think on this and take proper risk mitigation plan for water and water availability, water source vulnerability risk, and so that we can survive and thrive along with business in coming time. Now coming to the greenhouse gas emission, which is the major cause of the climate change. And I was talking about the Paris Agreement, which happened, and we kept the target. All the countries have set the target to limit at least at 2 degrees centigrade, and then it was revised to 1.5 degrees centigrade. At 2 degree centigrade rise is even high. We cannot even survive in 2 degrees centigrade rise. So then it is revised to 1.5 degree. And if the business don't take any action and business run as usual, then the current trajectory will take us a 4 degrees centigrade rise. 4 degrees centigrade rise is huge. It's going to damage many things. It's a catastrophic situation. Nothing will, in fact, exist in 4 degrees centigrade. So that's the scenario. We have to bring it down to 2 degree or 1.5 degree at least to bring to the survival mode. So that's the alarming call, clarion call, which is given by all experts, all climate change experts, scientists on greenhouse gas emission. That's the #1 crisis. That is why our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he has declared to go for net zero target by 2070. In fact, we have kept a target of net zero carbon emission by 2050 across all the businesses. We are seeing a lot of change happening with the customers and the brands. The brands, retail, and the customer who are taking our product, they are demanding that what is your target of carbon emission? If we cannot show them the evidence that we are working on it and our net zero target is by 250 and we want to reduce the carbon emission by 40 to 50% by 2025, then they are not going to take our product. If your product is not going to sold in the market, then your business is going to starve. So this has to be done. It's not an option anymore. It has to be done across all the businesses. Otherwise, business cannot survive at all. So these are some of these clarion calls which is coming from across all the directions. And so with this perspective of water, this perspective of climate change, this perspective of biodiversity, this perspective of your nitrogen cycle, and all these global issues on environment and sustainability, how we view our business. Can we run the business in the same way which we are running 5 years back or 10 years back? No, it's not possible. So we have to first transform our thinking process. We have to think differently. We should have a different business model. We should have a different process and system in place. So unless we transform our processes and systems, unless we transform our thought process, unless we transform our business philosophy, business policies, then we cannot survive in this scenario going forward. So what we need to do? So few things I just want to brief on how business is a system within a system. Business is a system of people. It's a combination of people, asset, and processes. So these are 3 pillars of any business. So people, we should have right, competent people. We should have engaged people. We should have right asset or technology with us, which has to be fit for purpose and maintained. We should have right processes and systems. We should have capable processes. We should have assured to agreed standards, international standards, so that all these combination of people, asset, process has to deliver the product or service. So that's a simple business model, how businesses work. So leadership has to look at all these aspects of it. Only people is not going to help. Only asset or technology is not going to help. Only processes are not going to help. So leadership has to supervise all these things in a proper synchronous manner to deliver the product and service to the customer, so that customer is delighted. Then only your business can survive and thrive. Okay, that's how we can build a culture Leadership plus system is a group culture. So briefly on this chart, I just want to show you what are the systems, how the business runs. There are three types of system. One is primary system, then secondary system, and then tertiary system. How it works. We are familiar with these primary systems. In primary systems, where the customer is the key, and there is a supply chain, and there is production, there is logistics, there is your manufacturing and your marketing, so that customer needs and requirements are fulfilled by this complete supply chain or line function. So this is the primary system of any business. There is a secondary system or support system which supports the line function or primary system to work properly, like your quality, maintenance, HR, health, safety, environment, and all these functions are support functions. They support the line function so that line function can do their job in a better way to satisfy the customers. Then what is the function of leadership? Leadership is coming in primary or secondary. There is a system of governance, tertiary system. So we call it tertiary system is about the governance. Look at the whole thing from a helicopter view, from a bird's eye view, and define the standards, assure the process, whether process is right or wrong, the process is capable of delivering the result, and check the performance. Then iteration happens with feedback systems, and so that we can satisfy the customer. This is how the organization run well. So if you see our, if everybody, every business in the world follows the law as it is written today, is the world sustainable? This is a question for all of you. Whatever we are doing today, be it your legal management system, your ISO integrated management systems, your process and engineering systems, if we will do the same thing, what we are doing now, if we'll do the same thing for coming years, coming 4 to 5 years, do you feel that this business is sustainable? That's a question for all of us. Sure, we can guarantee that the business will be extinct in near future. It will not be in a survival mode at all. Why? Let's understand it properly. If you see here, we have an operating space that is bounded by the law, the legal and regulatory compliance. If you see about legal, legal and regulatory compliance, and we are, this green circle talks about your business operating space, and we take care of, we tell that many of the times we are beyond compliance level. So that's how we are working in a wider window, if you see the standards which is there now. But if you go forward, this is going to be the scenario of 2050 or 2030, something like that, maybe just around 5 to 10 years ahead. We have a very narrow window. That yellow circle, what you are seeing is the narrow window we are going to see. Be it carbon regulation, your carbon emission norms, be it your water norms, be it your energy norms, be it your employee welfare norms, be it your product sustainability norms, everything is going to be stringent in coming 5 to 10 years. So we need to prepare ourselves. We need to design our process and system in such a manner so that we are ready to face the challenges which is going to come in coming 5 to 10 years. So what we need to do, we cannot just maintain our processes and systems, whatever is there now, and we can claim that we are going to survive in coming 5 to 10 years. Not possible. So what we need to do, what we have approached in Aditya Birla Group, we have approached that whatever is the legal limit, whatever is the legal tolerance limit for individual country, be it India, be it Indonesia, be it Thailand, be it Germany, be it Philippines. But we study what is the international standard, like your international standard is available in IFC, UNGC, United Nations. So we collect the international standards, and our norm is much stricter than the country level legal limits, so that we are well ahead of the legal compliance now. Then that is the first approach. Then we started monitoring all our unit, and we are well within the control limit of ABG control limit, not country level control limits, ABG control limit or international standard. So we have done that exercise. Now we are complying 100% with that process. All units has to compliance. If some investment is required, some capex is to be raised for that, let it be. Let the company invest money now instead of investing 5 year, 10 year after. So that's the approach we have taken. And now all our units are in ABG control limits, which is international standard. Now, the next approach is best practice. Best practice is what is the best benchmark available in that particular criteria. Suppose in carbon emission norm of textile business, which company is having the best benchmark? What is the best possible? We do a benchmarking exercise across the globe, across the competitors. What is the best which can be achieved? Then we move towards gradually to the best achievable target. And then coming to the 2030 norms, and that is how this model of our sustainability works, and our window, operating window for each and every standard go on stringent and narrow down slowly, so that we are making our business future proof, well ahead of the time. So that's the strategy adopted to survive and thrive beyond 2050. So if you see our framework of sustainability, the first is responsible stewardship. I'll explain what is the responsible stewardship, what are the factors we are considering in that. Basically, responsible stewardship is we are a responsible business. So we have to, even without saying by any government authorities or any legal compliance requirement, we are voluntarily doing that activities and mitigating our impact on externalities. So suppose each of our business unit, they are doing some air emission, they are discharging some effluent water to the river, they are doing some impact, there is some impact to the environment that we are aware of. So how we can reduce those impacts so that we can reduce the impact on externalities to the external environment. So that is our responsible stewardship pillar, the first pillar of the sustainability process. The next pillar is stakeholders engagement. Then we have a series of discussion with all the stakeholders, internal stakeholders as well as external stakeholders. External stakeholders means your industry experts, your expert from educational institutions, then your government authorities. And we had a series of interview with all these experts, internal and external stakeholders, to understand how the world is moving, what are the mega trends in coming 5 to 10 years, and what are the external factors which is going to impact our business. So two things, one is externalities, how we are impacting to the environment, external environment. External factor is how the external things impacting our business. It's a two-way interaction. So we need to understand externalities as well as external factors to run our business effectively in future. So that exercise is done. We do a materiality analysis, and on basis of that, the third pillar is future proofing. So each of our business has to be future proof. How can we say that we can survive and thrive in 2050 and beyond? For that, we have to understand the micro mega trends. We have to understand the scenarios which is going to come in coming 10 to 20 years. So generally nowadays, it's very, very difficult to visualize the things which is going to come in 1 to 2 years. Strategy cycle has reduced tremendously. Previously, companies were doing strategy for 10 years, 5 years. Now, see the strategy we cannot do for 1 year or 2 years because there is less and less visibility of uncertainties are there. But we are trying our best to understand these external factors and externalities and understanding the mega trends and have a future-proofing scenario for the business. How the climate change is going to impact our business. How this carbon emission or water risk is going to change our business. So how the product, I'll give a small example. Initially, our business is having 20% of the product, which was sustainable product. Sustainable product means it has less impact to the environment. Now we are producing around 80% of our product as sustainable product because there is a huge demand which has come from the consumers and customers. So if you want to get the revenue from the customer, you have to collaborate with brands and adopt their policies. So sustainability product, sustainable product is the demand by the customers and consumers, brand, retail. So it has gone up from 20% to 80%. So that's the trend which is coming up. If you don't have sustainable practices in your business, sustainable products to take care of the complete supply chain, we do a life cycle assessment. Any product starting from the raw material procurement, then manufacturing, then coming to consumer, then that is end use. After the end use, consumer is disposing of. So this complete life cycle of the product, how a particular product is impacting the environment. So we have to take care of that. So we are currently considering this life cycle assessment. So customer is asking for that. Do you have a life cycle assessment of your product? How much impact your product is giving to the environment? Can you quantify and tell us? Is there a traceability in place in your complete supply chain? So these are the questions coming from the brands and customers. So we cannot survive without doing all this exercise. So that is how the scenario has changed now, and these activities has to be done to future-proof the business. Just manufacturing a product and pushing to the customer is not going to work. There has to be a customer pull to be successful in the supply chain. So that's what is changing the whole scenario. So briefly, there are 3 pillars: responsible stewardship, stakeholders engagement, then future proofing of the business. So what are a sustainable business and a sustainable world? So thing is that people If we'll more concentrate on sustainable world, less focus on sustainable business, then business cannot survive. So both has to be in a synchronous modes, because business has to survive. If business is not earning money, business is not profitable. If we'll do all the activities for a sustainable world, then business cannot survive. So we have to survive, we have to make profit, as well as improve the world, make the world sustainable. So that's a hand in hand or synchronous way. So sustainable business is a subset of sustainable world. So there should be a sustainable world if businesses are sustainable, financially, profitably, then only business can contribute towards a sustainable world. So can we conclude, therefore, that a sustainable business is one that can survive within the need and legal constraint of sustainable world? So both need to be sustainable. Okay. So otherwise the survival will not. We cannot run the business without making profit and just contributing towards sustainable world. So that's what the thing is, that sustainable world with sustainable business is a good proposition than only looking for sustainable world. So that is the two. That's why we have mentioned that externalities and external factors, these both need to be considered to have a sustainable business in a sustainable world. So if you see the scenario, how the sustainability has picked up the importance in the boardroom. If you see 1987, sustainability was run just as a ESG department or ISO 14,000, which was having less importance by the business. It was taking care of only the legal compliance level. But now over the period of time, it has changed tremendously. If you see the mechanism that are being developed to seek out the companies that cannot afford to have technical or structural issue, because the regulations are changing. We cannot survive if we will run the business as usual. So we have to transform our business through our processes and systems. So if you want to have a sustainable future, so we need to have a capable management team. So we need to focus on technical aspects as well as management aspect, and there are many things to be considered. It's now the top item of the CEO in any business, you see. So we can conclude that as business transforms or fail, can we also conclude that sustainable value chain only contains sustainable business? Thus, we see sustainable brand as one controlling a sustainable value chain. Now, we cannot tell that our business or our unit as a isolation is sustainable. Suppose we are performing very good sustainability things and we can tell that we are doing very good, but we don't bother about others, other partners in the supply chain. If the supply chain is not sustainable, then we are not sustainable. So we have to also take care of our supply chain partners, be our supplier, supplier's supplier, our customer, customer's customer. This complete supply chain has to be sustainable. So we have to think in that angle. That is how the transparency or this transparency through blockchain technology, your product visibility and other things has come into picture. So now all the customers, they are asking for the supply chain transparency. From where you are purchasing the material, suppose, for example, suppose you are producing viscose fiber. Fiber is used in yarn and fabric. and that fabric is converted to a t-shirt. Suppose I am using this t-shirt, it is made up of viscous fiber. So that viscous fiber is made from the pulp, wood pulp. So that wood is procured from which forest? Whether all sustainable practices is followed in that forest or not. So those are the things which have to take care of. This complete supply chain, right from the procurement of the raw material, the source of the raw material, and then this wood has come from the forest, then wood pulp, then fiber, then coming to the yarn, then coming to the weaving, making the fabric, garment, then coming to the consumer. After the consumer, how you are disposing it up. This complete supply chain has to be transparent through technology. So the brands are now demanding. Brands are at the top end of the supply chain. They are demanding each of their supply chain partners. Are you following this practice? Do you have a sustainable processes and systems to take care of all these things? Then only we will take your product. Otherwise, you will not take your product. So that is how this sustainable business, sustainable supply chain is as well very important. Not only your own business cannot run in isolation. Now, Aditya Birla Group, we decided our vision. Chairman, Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla, he rolled out the vision of sustainability across all the groups. Aditya Birla Group endeavors to become the leading Indian conglomerate for sustainable businesses practices across all its global operations. So that is how all the teams of Aditya Birla Group are working on sustainable initiatives. They have transformed the processes and systems to make the business sustainable, survive and thrive. Not only survive, thrive in 2050 and beyond that. So that's the kind of vision of sustainability which has rolled out across all our business. If you see here, there are three pillars, as I was mentioning: responsible stewardship, stakeholders engagement, and future proofing. So I will give a little more detail about this. Responsible stewardship, what is that? Stakeholder engagement, how do you do that? Future proofing, how do you do that? Little practical things and coming to the soft floor. So maybe we can move a little bit faster now to explain, because to cover up all the contents. So if you see responsible stewardship, as a responsible business, all our operations has to achieve international standards in all these categories, be it energy and carbon, be it water, be it waste management, be it noise, be it contaminated site, be it sustainable infrastructure, health, safety, transport, biodiversity, air. So each of these items has to be managed up to the international standards. How you will make international standard? How do you know there is an international standard? So there is a team at the corporate cell who are doing the research and doing the benchmarking with international organization to come out with certain business processes for each of these things. There are around more than 80 process and systems which is drafted, and all our units are following that on those standards. Each of those standards, like your be it biodiversity, be it quality, be it supply chain, be it contractor management, be it human rights. So those standards are being implemented uniformly across all our units to achieve that international standard. That's what is responsible stewardship to become a responsible business. Now, coming to stakeholders engagement, second pillar. Second pillar, each of the unit have business stakeholders, have strategic experts. So each unit, they have list down who are the business stakeholders, internal stakeholders as well as external stakeholders and strategic experts, and list down the names and entities And we have decided a frequency and what is the mode of communication with them, so that we will be continuously in touch with all the stakeholders and get the feedback, how the things are moving dynamically on day-to-day basis, so that we are aware of the complete scenario, internal as well as external scenario, and make our strategy so that we can future-proof the business without avoiding or minimizing the risk which can come suddenly. So this is about the risk mitigation plan well in ahead. Now coming to the future proofing. In future proofing of our businesses, like your acquisition, divestment, joint venture, project development, life cycle management, decommissioning, demolition, decontamination, crisis management. So these are some of these processes and systems. We take support of external experts who can guide us to define the strategy, future proofing strategy, and that is integrated with our business strategy. So these are the three pillars. And if you have come to the framework, sustainability framework means your processes and systems. So we have 5 tiers, like your policy, we can call it tier 1, then position statement, management standard, then technical standard and guidance note. These are the 5 level hierarchy of the documentation we have. We have a top level is the policy. There are 17 policies for each and every items, which is very clearly stated what is the statement of intent. It has to be simple, understandable, implemented to guide decisions and achieve specific outcome for each of the sustainable businesses. So it's very clearly defined in the policy document. Then position statement. Position statement on various global issues like your global warming or HIV/AIDS or any other global issues. What is our stand? We can take a favorable stand, we can take an unfavorable stand, but we have to be clear in our position statement. What is our position for particular with respect to this particular global issue, so that each and every management leader or management team is aware of if how we'll address, because when we are attending any conference, we should know how to address the climate change issue. What should be the statement for Aditya Birla Group, where we stand. So those kind of things are very clearly mentioned for the leadership team as a position statement. So it has to be uniformly communicated across the group. Then coming to the management standard. Management standards for each of these: carbon, water, emission, effluent, all these responsible stewardship element, which I was mentioning. There are documents which is mandatory to be followed for all Aditya Birla Group companies. So these management standards are the technical management standards to be followed across all the units. Now coming to the technical standard, the detailed part of it, how to do a rainwater harvesting, how to conserve energy, how to reduce the carbon emission, how to achieve the carbon neutrality or net zero target. So those are some of these technical standards which is given based on the best practices across all the organizations. Then the guidance note. Guidance note is not mandatory. It is a voluntary, because it can vary from business to business, from unit to unit, depending on the situation, depending on the product, because we cannot issue a generic thing because it has to be specific. Suppose Aditya Birla Group is dealing with metal, dealing with textile, dealing with cement, dealing with financial services. So there are many business verticals. So everything cannot be same. So depending on the business perspectives, so we need to customize those things and those documents, those procedures, those process and systems as per our requirement. So this is a guidance note On basis of that, we can customize the things as per our requirement. Now, these are some of these policies, these 18 policies, as I was mentioning, which is available for everybody to follow. And then once it is rolled out from corporate level, then each business has to go through it, and they may change their policies as per their own business requirement and then roll it out further down. Then similarly, the position statement is there. Then there are management standards on leadership, accountability, objective targets, management of change, contractor management, supply chain management. There are, for each and everything, there is a standard which is given, and on basis of that, we can follow our detailed process and systems at each unit. That is how the business has transformed, and we call it one ABG. So there cannot be different standards, different processes across all units. So at a high level. So these are some of these management standards. Just taking you through briefly on technical standards. There are many technical standards like your energy carbon management, water management, your solid hazardous waste management, your security management, product stewardship management. For each and every item of sustainability, we have a process and system in place. So which has actually transformed the whole thing to become truly a sustainable business. It includes your health, safety, environment system. And now coming to the guidance note, as I was mentioning, the guidance note is just for the guidance. On basis of this guidance, then each unit can develop their own standard. So this is not mandatory. This is a guidance note and flexible for all units, all businesses to develop their own standard based on these few guidance. Okay, and now there are many such documents. If you see the total documents, more than 130 documents which is available on policies, then management standard, technical standard, guidance note, and it's being implemented across all our units. If you see about the international standards like your ISO systems, this is also uniformly being implemented, all units, your ISO 9000, 14000, and our sustainability framework is certified with 17 standards. So once you implement this framework, then we will be automatically getting the certification from 17 international organizations to be eligible, get certified for that. And we have an IT system, and this is a huge task for process excellence or business excellence as well. And so this cannot be managed just in paper, pen and paper. So there is an IT framework called Enablan. So that Enablan platform is rolled out across all the units, and everything is managed through that Enablan. Even single data, the dashboard, the leadership dashboard, quarterly, annual, monthly, is can be taken a printout and can be reviewed. Each unit across 34 countries, they are just putting the data on monthly basis, daily basis, weekly basis, so that we can get summary reports in that IT platform. Whatever report, what kind of report, trend, chart, all these things we can see for our analysis and improvement purpose. So how to check? Because there is a framework which I have explained to you. Now there is a assurance or audit system, and there is also a reward and recognition to motivate the people. So for that, there is a self-assessment questionnaire. So all these standards, it has to be assessed by each unit team. That is called self-assessment through that IT platform, Enablan. And after that, you will get a score. So suppose in energy carbon, your score is 60% or 80% or 90%. So you are at that level. So that means we have ranked 60%, less than 60% is unacceptable. If 60 to 80% is satisfactory, then once you reach 80%, then we can do the validation by the business team or corporate team. If it is less than 60%, then no question of validation. So once it go to 80%, it will be validated. 80 to 95% will be off-site validation. Without coming to the site, there will be a validation. If your score is greater than 95%, that means excellent. Then the auditor will come to the site and validate, and then recognize the team once you are crossing 95% level. So that is how there is a dashboard which is also reviewed. Business Review Council. Business Review Council is the highest reviewing authority by the chairman. So that happens once in a quarter. So once in a quarter, in that Business Review Council meeting, these scores of each unit is displayed and reviewed by BRC, the chairman's representatives. They review it. So that is how the things get implemented, then get assessed and audited, and then finally come out with a reward and recognition, so that the complete team is motivated to work towards that, to achieve excellent performance across all those criteria of sustainability framework. Then coming to the future proofing of the business through impact card, and there is an organization called Forum for the Future. So we have a collaboration with them, and they are a research organization who is keep on tracking on the trends, mega trends, what is going to happen in coming 10, 15 years, 20 years. So based on their horizon scanning, then they do discuss with our leadership team, and there is an impact card methodology by which they do discuss with the team, come out with the future strategy. If you want to survive and thrive, you have to do this, this, this. Your product category had to be this, your service has to be this, like that. Suppose, for example, we do a future proofing of our linen business. Then it comes to it, we understand that because of the climate change, the raw material for linen is flax. Flax is only grown in Bulgaria, so some part of the Europe, very limited part in Europe. So that is the only area where the flax is grown. Flax is, you cannot get flax in other part of the world. So our business survival is because of that. If because of the climate change, the agriculture or cultivation and that pattern will change, then our business is in threat. So it is studied that the area where the flax is grown in Europe, that particular area, your temperature, your rainfall and climatic condition is going to change drastically in coming 2 to 3 years. So our business is endangered. We cannot get the raw material. So how business will run? So that is how they predict that, okay, this area, the climate is going to change. Now the cultivation of flax is going to shift from this area to another area in China or another area in Italy. So then you have to keep a track of all these things to get the raw material, because raw material will not be available to run your linen business. So that is how we decide the business strategy in coming 10 to 15 years to future-proof the business with the help of Forum of the Future, and then decide the strategy how to adopt to all these things, a big crisis which is coming because of the climate change and other issues. So it's a small example. So that is how we do the future proofing for all our businesses. And this is the impact card methodology, how the risk is associated with each of these: your land productivity, raw material scarcity, deforestation, land availability, biodiversity and ecosystem degradation. So like that, we have around 60 areas of the risk. So each of these areas risk is assessed, then risk is identified, then how to manage those risks is discussed along with the team. After that, a risk mitigation plan is decided. How to bring those red areas to the green areas kind of thing is the complete risk management process in place across all the units. That's part of the future-proofing strategy for each business. So this is a snapshot how this water risk is changing. This is just one of the classic example I told. We have 12 units and we do the risk assessment 5 years back. We find that most of the units are having low risk. But just in 3 to 4 years, the risk changed. Now all the units are in high risk. So we have to find alternate source of water. So source vulnerability risk is there, and quality of the water, that risk is there. And those are the things which is changing very frequently. Unless we keep ourselves abreast with the knowledge, we cannot, a business cannot survive with that steady business process. We have to have a dynamic, agile and lean business processes to survive and thrive in the business. So briefly, I explained this model of our sustainability framework, how we progress to achieve a sustainable world with sustainable business in 2050 and beyond, and future-proofing strategy, how we have to consider our value chain, supply chain along with us. If we are only sustainable, then we cannot be sustainable alone. So we have to take our supply chain partners along with us. We have to make a sustainable world. So sustainable business with sustainable supply chain partners with sustainable world is the only solution to go ahead. So we have to look beyond our business. Only looking within the business is not going to help. That's the understanding which has come few years. Sometimes the competitors are collaborating with each other to be successful. So that's the way we have to move ahead, to collaborate with each and every partners where we can derive value and survive in our business. So we have recently published our report, Building Sustainable Business Fit for a Sustainable World. That's the theme of our sustainability report. So unless we have a sustainable world, our business cannot survive. So build sustainable businesses fit for a sustainable world. That's the theme. And we are working for net zero carbon emission by 2050 to achieve that less than 2 degrees centigrade future, and which is available in internet. You can get those reports. And thanks very much for your patient sharing. And if any question answered or anything, we can conclude. So I have request Dr. Ave to take it forward.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Jagdish, for your very informative and thought-provoking inaugural speech on sustainability of business and how Aditya Birla Group is revisiting their business processes for inclusive growth. I'm glad that you mentioned environmental issues, the legacy issues impacting business globally, and you mentioned about how technical management aspects and assessment of business process focus for sustainability from future proofing with Forum for Future you have developed. I think the risk mitigation of Aditya Birla Group is commendable. And when you talk about your business processes to be sustainable, you also mentioned how stakeholders are considered to see that inclusive growth with supply chain partners can be achieved. I have one question to you, since you have got very massive qualitative and quantitative global exposure of international business. What will be your suggestion that India should work on the three major business process, considering the demographic advantage of India, We have got very good pool of intelligent youth, and of course, we have got emerging academic institution with state-of-art technology. Where do you think that India should work more?
Yeah, thanks. It's a very nice question. And in fact, we are seeing the Indians, they are very much into this sustainability field now, though they are working from US, they are working from Canada and all these, because IT, the digitization had picked up very fast. And all these solution, at maximum solution of sustainability, we are getting through digitization. So let's take it traceability. If you see the traceability, we take help of blockchain technology. And for that blockchain technology, who can be the best in IT? Our Indian IT team, they have the best capability across the globe. We are seeing many people, though they are settled at different countries, but they are helping us in finding the right IT solutions for all our sustainability initiatives, like to make it a visibility on carbon emission and visibility of our complete sustainability framework. We have taken help of IT, because without help of IT, we cannot manage the whole thing sitting at one place, because the days has gone. You can visit the units, but if see my case, we have 12 units at Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Germany, India. I cannot travel to all the locations, but sitting in front of my laptop, I can see which unit is performing how on daily basis. So that IT has given us the tool to manage the whole thing. So India is leading in that. I'm happy to express that Indian IT or computer engineers, IT engineers, they have come in a long way, and they are doing excellent across the world, and name it any business. They are helping us in a big way in this journey of sustainability.
Sure, thank you. I like in your presentation the two parts as a Six Sigma Master Black Belt. Whenever we were supposed to put the limits of our processes, we were supposed to consider our process limits and customer limits. And very nicely you talked about the legal limits and tolerance, which is the limits given by the customer specifications, and the ABG control limits, which are with international standard, which will be considered as your own process limit, so that none of the business processes goes out of specification limit, so that that which are mentioned by the customer specified limit. So I think this is where the zero defect can be achieved by your group. I'm extremely delighted. But my question is, how these international standards are decided? Are they available for engineering units like your group?
Yeah, so I just first of all, I just like to say that you have asked a very apt, very nice question, and which took me back to the Six Sigma days. We measure the process capability of CPK, where we always tell that voice of the customer, voice of the process. So voice of the process has to be within the voice of the customer. So that's exactly nothing, because I could able to use that philosophy to bring it to a simple sustainability model. So in the back of that, exactly that was the thought process. And yeah, regarding this international standard, yes, it's available. We had done a bit of research, taking help of some consultants. When we frame those international standards on each of those carbon, water, emission, effluent, and all these things, we take help of some consultants, and those standards are available in UNGC, OECD, IFC, and HUL. HUL is one of the big, and in textile, if you see H&M, Zara, so they have done this complete benchmarking study And sustainability reports are available in the internet and the public domain, and even all these international NGO, and if you see the IFC report, International Finance Corporation report. So all these, even I take an example of textile industry, they have done extensive study on textile industry. They have published the report on each of those criteria, what should be the standard for each of these things. Like that, the team of consultants we hired, and they took complete 1 year to do this complete exercise, and then work with our team to develop those standards. And then after that, we do a peer review within our different businesses. And after completing the peer review, then once we agree on those international standards, and then we call it as Aditya Birla standards, then we roll it out to all the units.
Sure. I think that was very nice. I think this is all for all the viewers who are viewing this broadcast of Mr. Jagdish Barik, who is a stalwart in engineering industry with a global perspective. The ease of doing business will be possible only when you have availability of raw material. And the raw material come from tier 1, tier 2 suppliers. Talking about the typical business case mentioned by Mr. Jagdish Barik, it was all related with textile industry, where the raw material plays a very important role, where the water, quality and quantity of water plays a very important role. And that is where how raw material availability in terms of sustainable business, in terms of profitable business, in terms of availability of these things is very important, which is critical to quality for a business. So I'm really happy that Jagdish, you have given the more focus on the helicopter view of doing business to my all participants, faculty members and corporate members. Yes, we in this international conference, we are going to talk about revisiting banking operations with AIML. We are also talking about rejuvenating marketing processes. Of course, blockchain, as you rightly mentioned, for redefining human business processes, HR perspective, and the supply chain, where we are going to talk about use of technology to enhance supply chain processes, where how tier 1, tier 2 suppliers can do ease of business for OEMs, which is also our point of view. And in valedictory, we are also going to have a session from the Peel University personality who are expert in industry and academia, how we can bridge the so-called gap of academia and industry, which is always talk of the town, saying that there is a gap. But international conferences like this and exposure given by a person like you will definitely encourage the academia and corporate members to come together to brainstorm and talk more about how revisiting business processes is going to be the buzzword for profitable, sustainable, and inclusive growth for the entire community. Once again, I thank you all from bottom of my heart, the MBA at IICMR, to give you a wonderful inaugural session. And thank you very much. We all will clap for a very nice illustrative session. Definitely, when you come to India, you do visit our campus to see what way we are doing academic excellence initiative for the students who are our future managers. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and all my best wishes with you and team to have a very successful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much once again. Yeah.